say you're just like stuck where it's like nothing is really over 300 views. All right. Just like with the crying baby, we have to go over the basics. We have to go through this little checklist, if you will, of foundational things with your Instagram first to try to start solving this mystery. And look, if you are advanced, do not roll your eyes right now because you probably need this shit more than anybody, just like I need this shit more than anybody. Those of us that have been social media creators for a good long time, we need to check ourselves, right? Like that's a response. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like that's a responsible thing to do, especially with social media, because you can end up in a rut of sorts and it can happen to anybody. So while I'm using the example that your Reels views are stuck at about 300 all the time, even if you have 500,000 followers and maybe your Reels views are stuck at 8,000 every single time and they never vary and they never go higher than that, right? So it's just whatever their perspective is, whether it's a large audience or small or in between, it can happen to any of us. And we have to go back and go to the basics. So with Instagram, what are we going to do? You've been experiencing this for a while. You got to start solving the mystery. You got to start finding out why the baby's crying. You're going to go back to your basics on your profile. You're going to look at your profile picture. You're going to look at your bio and how it's written out. Look at those basic things first. And this is good advice, even if you're not in a rut, right? Like just kind of check in on things every now and then. You want to make sure, how is your profile picture still cool? Like, or is it like 8 years old and, kind of blah and like dark? Like, maybe you need to update it. Move on to your bio. The description of you and your bio, really, is that grabbing somebody's attention? So like if somebody stumbles upon one of your reels and is one of those 300 views and they go to your bio and they want to learn more about you, is it going to grab their attention? Because you really, no pressure, have only seconds to grab someone's attention and help them make that decision to follow you, which is the decision you want them to make. And if your bio is confusing, if it isn't clear as to who you are, what you do, how you can help, if if it sounds weird, if they don't understand it, if it's plain, right? If it maybe just doesn't even include very much information, anything like that, why how are they going to know who you are to be able to follow you? You have to remember that people don't know. You have to re-explain things. It's like you're talking to a fourth grader all the time, right? And that's actually kind of a good little thing to go by. Pretend like you're having to talk to a fourth grader, teach a fourth grader, tell a fourth grader who you are, all of that stuff. So think about that with your bio. Go in there and make the adjustments that you need to make. Okay. And then look at the rest of your Instagram account. Look at your highlights. Do you have Instagram highlights, stories highlights, covers? Are they in your brand colors? Does it look nice? Is it easy to read and understand what they are? Do you have a gazillion Instagram stories highlights? Maybe we should dwindle it down to, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Okay. When you tap on the stories highlights, do you have stories from 174 weeks ago? If so, maybe we don't need them anymore, right? We're cleaning things up. We're polishing things. We're going back in and refreshing, doing a little miniature makeover on your Instagram and optimizing your bio and all that jazz. Okay. So that's really your first step. And that's something that I really feel like a couple of times a year you should check in on anyway, because we got to check ourselves, and you really can get into some sort of like routine and things can get very blah, and you want to make sure that everything's up to date and fresh. All right. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Now, after that, you're going to think about all of your practices, right? Your how often that you're posting, what time of day that you're posting. Are you posting on stories? Are you commenting on other people's posts? Are you commenting on other people's stories? You're going to go through all those basics of the actual practices within the Instagram app. And all of that stuff really matters, especially when you're in a rut. Look, you may be like, oh, Brittany, that's so much fucking work. Like, damn it. Hey, I get it. Nobody said that it came without some effort. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to spend hours every day on Instagram. You figure it out in a way that works for you. But I'm telling you, if you'll go back and also after you check your own bio and everything, go back and check your activity and how you're doing that, and if you feel like you're being thorough enough. So maybe you're posting but you're not commenting on anybody else's stuff ever or barely. That's a problem because you're not stimulating the algorithm, if you will, by avoiding that, by not engaging on other people's content. And it doesn't have to be some lengthy, drawn out ordeal where you scroll for hours. I don't need to hear if people say, oh, I can't scroll on social media at all. You can. You can scroll on it. You can set a timer if you need some discipline, and you can devote, 10 to 15 minutes multiple days a week to go in and make sure and you engage in other people's content, especially the people that you want to see your content. Because if you engage in their content, the odds of them seeing yours goes up. And it's also like nurturing that relationship with that person that you really want to get to know and you want to maintain that relationship with for whatever reason, whether you think they might be a client of yours, whether you might could collaborate together on some content. You want to nurture those relationships. So you have to set up times to engage. And if you haven't been doing that and you're just posting and hoping that that's enough, it's probably not enough.